Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about statistics, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about making predictions. So you can really use probability when you are making predictions for statistics. So that is why it is often said that probability and statistics kind of go hand in hand. They do relate to one another. So there are a lot of problems that are going to have the same wording like this. So I'm really only going to do one example. Yes, there are two parts here, but once you get the hang of it once, the rest really kind of falls into place. So in this case, they did tell us the sample space out of 20 students. So let me get my pen out. So they told us right here my sample space. They told us that the sample space is going to be 20. It is very common that you might see a chart. In order to find your sample space to the chart, you just add all of the numbers up, and that is how many were surveyed, how many results were, whatever it was. So out of the 20 students in Mrs. Smith's class, 14 brought their lunch from home and 6 paid for their lunch at school. What is the probability that a student paid for their lunch? The key word here is going to be probability, because that tells you, okay, my answer needs to be between 0 and 1, because those are the only probability answers you could possibly have. So your sample space, again, is 20. I'm going to make that my denominator. The reason why I know it's a fraction is because it said the word probability. So now we want to know how many students paid for their lunch. Well, look back in the problem, and it says that 6 paid for their lunch at school. So that's going to be my numerator. So my fraction is just 6 over 20. And if I wanted to, I could reduce this. I could divide each of these by 2 and get 3 over 10. That's the first part of my problem. Let's look at the second part. If there are 150 students in the school, predict how many of them paid for their lunch. This word predict is going to tell you what operation. Whenever you see the word predict, you are always going to multiply. So if you think way, way, way back to when you learned percents, you're really trying to find a percent of this whole. So if you remember, fractions are really just decimals written a different way. And this 150 students is the whole part of the school. You're looking for that little tiny piece that is paying for their lunch. So if we look back at the first part of the problem, I got an answer of 3 over 10. I'm going to use the reduced form. And all you have to do is multiply it by 150, your population. Now I can put this over 1 since it's a whole number, and I can do some cross simplification. I can divide each of these by 10. I get a 1, and here I get a 15. So I'm going to get a 1 as a denominator. 3 times 15 is going to give me a 45. So for my final answer, I can say, well, I can predict that 45 students will pay for their lunch. Will this be accurate? Who knows? Only one way to find out is to run the experiment. But this kind of gives you an idea. So you can really look at a smaller population and use that to predict for a much larger one. I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more, and leave a comment below if you have any questions for me. Make sure you share this video with a friend who you think could benefit from this tutorial. Thanks for watching.